Okay, after a thorough evaluation of the tape, you saw on offense, especially in the first half, you saw just a multitude of issues as far as execution and taking care of your job. On defense, I thought our guys, especially in both halves, I thought they played well. I thought there was one drive where we got on our heels a little bit with tempo, didn't communicate as well as we could have, and gave up a drive there. The only thing we probably didn't do on defense that we needed to do was create some takeaways. And on special teams, we played okay. We played sound, for a first game. There were some opportunities to make some game-changing plays, and unfortunately, we didn't do that. So that was disappointing in that area.
Was there an area on offense that stood out as a bigger issue for why things happened the way they did than any other?
I mean, when you're running a play on offense, I mean, basically the core of the offense has to execute all those guys in there. If you got two wideouts on the outside and they run vertical or they're not involved in the play, it's not going to matter. But the rest of those other 9 guys, they got to all be on the same page and they all have to do exactly what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to say that if you don't win up front, you're going to have a hard time on offense. Your quarterback's got to make good decisions. And your running backs and got to run hard. I mean, and I'm not saying that the running backs didn't run hard, but we've got to do a better job up front, and we got to make better decisions at quarterback.
Was there a certain element of up front that, when you looked at the film, really stood out, or was it just sort of
lack of execution? And it wasn't just one guy. It was again, those things are easy to correct if it's one guy making a mistake all the time. But when it's multiple guys on different plays, you got to go in and you got to revamp and you got to make sure guys are doing their job. And maybe whether that's simplifying and doing less or getting better at what you're doing.
Did you have concerns with the offensive line's execution going into the game? Did you think like they would be able to perform at a level?
I expected them to perform much better than they did. Yes.
What took the offense so long to get going?
That's a good question. I think we probably added a little bit of the quarterback run game in the second half, which opened up a few things and made them simplify a little bit. You had probably guys just became a little bit more comfortable and settled down and just did what they were supposed to do.
Nathan, how much of what you saw in film was reads versus, like making a bad read with some of the turnovers versus just, some breakdown in execution?
Two of the turnovers were probably pressure situations, and then 2 of them were just bad decisions. You could say read if that's what the question, the word you're using.
Did you see the ECU game yet? And if so, what were your thoughts?
We've been watching it this morning, yeah, with all the breakdowns that we've been watching. So yeah, I have.
What were your thoughts on it?
It looked like they had every opportunity to win the game. They turned it over 2 times, I think, down there on the goal line. One of them was a pick 6 that you could say was the difference in the game. You had defensively, they played well. I mean, they played well enough to win a game on defense, and so I'm sure they feel good about that. They don't feel good about the turnovers, and their kicking game was solid.
I asked you Saturday after the game about coaching Nathan's confidence during the course of the game. What about since you guys have gotten back and maybe had a chance to watch the film? Have you had to have a conversation with him along the lines, maybe like you did with Barkley Spears?
About his confidence?
Just about his confidence in picking him up after what happened the other day.
Well, I mean, we do that with every player that we have on our team, but they also know when they come in this building, they're going to get the truth. It's it's one of the few places that they get the truth. And so we come in here and we point out the good and we point out the bad so that we can learn from the mistakes that we make and we can get better. I'm not worried about Nathan's confidence if that's kind of what you're asking me. I mean, he's played this position a long time, and you've got to, there's pressure that comes with being the quarterback and the leader of the team, and he understands that.
Did ECU's postponement to one day later, did that change anything as far as your schedule of getting things done?
It backs up everything, you know, it just gives you less time to prepare, you know, so, I mean, for them, the same way. I mean, them playing a day later gives them less time to prepare, so we're both in the same boat.
Is it more just breaking down the film?
Yeah, breaking down the film and getting all the breakdowns in, and then start your game planning.
To
That's
piggyback
the first time
on-
you've ever had to game plan for a team coming off of a Sunday game, I take it?
That I remember, you know, especially a postponement like that, you know, I don't remember anything like that ever happening in the past.
Going back to,
How did you shift this week's schedule? Because
Well, you would, you know, normally everything's ready to go. When we finish, you know, putting the one game to bed, it's usually ready to go. So, you know, we're able to get more done on Sunday than we are this week. You know, this week it all started, majority of it started this morning.
going back to Nathan, how has he handled things? What has kind of been his response to
I think his response has been good. I think it's exactly what I expected from him. I mean, he's not a wishy-washy kid. I mean, he's pretty strong, and he understands what he's got to do, and he understands what we have to do as a team, and I think he'll do a good job of leading.
Do you lose anything in the prep time process when you're playing a mid-afternoon game on the West Coast and then have to make a cross-country flight back here? Is there anything that gets lost in translation?
You know, we got to do a really good job with recovery for our players. That's the big deal, is making sure that they get enough sleep this week to recover from the you know, the long flight overnight, you know, coming back. You know, then you got the preparation as far as your game planning and all that, which got pushed back another day. You know, so there's some time constraints that we'll have to adjust to, but we'll adjust.
On film, what did you think of the defensive front? How your guys did?
I thought our defensive front controlled the line of scrimmage. You know, there were times where we put tremendous pressure on the quarterback with just 4 guys. We changed the line of scrimmage in the running game quite a few times. I mean, that's why we had more tackles for loss than explosives. You know, so I thought our defensive front did a really nice job.
You won't have Malik Carney for the next 3 games, I believe. How's that kind of change? Obviously, he had a huge game.
Yeah, he had
How's
a
that
great
kinda
game.
change
He had the
your
kind of
game?
game we're expecting him to have because he's prepared himself that way. And so we'll have, you know, the next guy will be up, and Malik will have to do a great job of leading, you know, from the sidelines.
Will you travel?
No,
So you won't go lead from
he will not travel.
What did you see from Dominique Ross that you liked, not just in the pass game, but in the run game too?
Oh, Dominique was all over the place. He was physical. He knew his run fits. He fit where he needed to. He tackled very solid. He was, you know, physical in everything he did. And then, you know, he did a great job in his coverages.
John
You mentioned-
Smith also had a pretty notable day in terms of the statistics. How was that in response to the development you've seen from him over the
Yeah, and John's a guy that, you know, everybody's talked about. We don't have any depth at linebacker. We don't have any experience at linebacker. But John, you know, John played last year when Andre went down. And so he got a lot of experience, even though he wasn't the starter. He got a lot of experience last year, and I think you saw that in this game. I mean, John was not rattled by any means. He got out there and played the way he played all spring and all camp. And so he kind of had the day we were expecting him to have.
Larry, you mentioned you're limiting the explosive plays. Obviously, defensive line plays a big role in that. How much of that, though, was just communication was better throughout the entire game?
Yeah, you go back a year in difference, and our communication defensively was much better. You know, and the only time we really had any question of that is in that one series where there was some tempo and we got on our heels, and you know, it was a good thing to learn from them because that showed, you know, where the communication dropped off. You know, we gave up some plays in that one drive, but other than that, and especially with, you know, you had Trey Morrison out there as a true freshman, who, you know, we need to mention him because he played really well for a guy playing in his first game of his career. You know, he handled the situation very well, and he did a really good job of communicating.
How will that communication be sustained this week without Malik? I know Cole's obviously still where he's at with Malik Carney.
Without Malik Carney?
Right.
Yeah, well, in the communication, the defensive ends aren't doing a whole lot of communicating. I mean, the linebackers and the secondary are the ones doing all the talking. You know, the defensive ends are listening, so it's not so much that will be where we miss Malik Carney.
Tyler played.
He's kind of an encourager and he's a captain.
He's a leader. He's a leader. I mean, he's a leader of this team, and so he's, like I said, he's going to have to lead off the field. You know, and I said he wasn't traveling. I didn't say he wouldn't be at the game. I just said he wouldn't be traveling.
Tyler played, I think, exclusively inside Saturday, but he's played a lot both on the outside.
Tyler?
And Tyler Powell.
Oh yeah, he's played end-to-end tackle in his career here.
And I think he was exclusively inside Saturday. Now with Malik out, are you going to maybe be floating him kind of both
Possibly.
spots?
Could play in both places. One thing Tyler is, he's very intelligent, so he can handle either spot in the defensive line. He's not a guy that has to have a tremendous amount of reps, because he's smart. He really knows the defense. So you don't have to get it. He's not a rep guy that you have to rep over and over and over before he has something down. Once Tyler sees it a couple times, he understands it, and that's why it's nice to have him back, because he can play both positions for us.
As well as the line played, how did Alan Cater grade out?
Alan made some really nice plays. He especially, showed a play after last night, just where the one time we got out of a gap and the back broke, and Alan Cater was the guy who ran him down. So he was playing really hard and with a lot of energy.
Would you like to get Cade Horton some reps this week? Obviously, last week playing from behind,
Yeah,
you were in a bad spot to do it.
I'd like to get a lot of guys some reps,
Well,
but
would
sure,
that be something you try to do?
I think that's
against-
important to be able to get your second team quarterback some reps and some meaningful reps. We're not talking about something that at the end of a game we're just handing off. I think it's important that he gets meaningful reps.
Well, William Barnes, how did he grade out? He was in the game at the last quarter.
Yeah, he did okay. For a true freshman up front. I mean, there were some things that he did that were really good, and then there were some things that he did that were really bad. And so but he's going to learn. I mean, again, that's his first time to ever step on the field, and the lights won't be as bright for him the next time.
How valuable was that last quarter? And did they do anything differently defensively that maybe you guys saw that you could exploit? Or what was?
They didn't change their defensive game plan throughout the game. I mean, they stayed with what they were doing. I mean, they were having success with it. We didn't move the ball in the first half, so there wasn't any adjustments for them to make in the second half. I mean, they felt pretty good about what they were doing.
But in that last quarter in particular, when you guys started to move the ball, what was maybe the main reason or two?
We started executing. I mean, it wasn't anything that they did defensively. I mean, we put our hats on the right people, and we stayed on them, and we blocked them, and guys made plays. I mean, and we picked up some first downs, and you get some continuity going, and you start rolling, and that's the way you have to play offense.
Coach, why do you think you're 0-5 in openers against FBS opponents and 4-11 when you have 2 weeks to prepare for games, bowl games, bye weeks? Why do you have you given any thought of why maybe you've struggled with those type of games?
I give a lot of thought to everything, and always searching for answers, but I don't have a solid answer to give you for that question.
You thought about, you didn't think about it even before the season, or I'm trying to figure out something here,
I think about it all the time. Yeah, I do.
With what you were just saying about the final quarter, how much? I mean, is that something you really try to push home to guys, like this is what happens when you execute, or do you really hit them the other way going forward about
both? This
is what happens when you don't?
Well, both. I mean, we're pointing out the good and the bad, and so in the first half there was a lot of bad. If we do this, we would have success. In the second half, it's okay. Look, you did this, and we had success. So you're always pointing out the good and the bad in every situation, whether you win or lose. I mean, we don't take it easy on them because we lost a game. I mean, it was, hey, we're going to learn from our mistakes one way or the other. And so you'd like to learn from those mistakes with a win. It's a better feeling than doing it the other way.
Well, thank you, folks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you much.